You're listening to a classic business podcast as heard on Classic 1027.
Well, who doesn't like a good Guinness? As the South African economy starts opening up again following the earthquake of the pandemic, and as we begin phase 2 of the vaccine rollout program, I think entrepreneurs are starting to smell real opportunity. If one cuts through much of the political noise, I think South Africa offers heaps of potential, and the entrepreneurs organisation Cape Town chapter recently played host to a trade investment and business network held in conjunction with Business Island South Africa, BICT, to open the channels of business opportunity between the two countries and the cities of Cape Town and Dublin. Well, I'm joined now by Waheed Adam, Chairman of iTouch Messaging Services, CEO of the Prime Group of Companies and EO Cape Town President, and Frank Gormley, Chairman of Business Island South Africa and a very well-known Cape Town property entrepreneur. Frank, we're about to welcome the British and Irish Lions on tour again. Thankfully, COVID didn't derail one of the truly great sporting events that tie our two great countries together every 12 years. And I believe rugby is rather close to your heart too.
That's right. I could have very strong sporting links, key sporting guys. I've had the venture in the old Lansdowne Road and the Viva Stadium for probably at least 25 years. And I've seen many great battles between Ireland and South Africa on the rugby field.
And I believe it's actually
followed, I might say, by numerous pints of Guinness.
I'm sure. I recall being on the heels of the Rotorua Stadium during the 2011 World Cup in New Zealand and making some great friendships with the travelling Irish supporters, some of the best in the world. Now, Frank, you founded the Eurocape Project Management and Property Development Company, and that really became one of the driving forces behind the regeneration of the CBD in the Cape Town city centre. How did that come about? How did you end up falling in love with South Africa and the city of Cape Town?
Well, it's funny enough that you mentioned sport. Well, in 97, I came out as a supporter of the Lions and followed them around the country. And that was my first real visit to South Africa, and I was absolutely blown away. I fell in love with South Africa. I couldn't believe how beautiful it was and the potential it had. And then the following year, I came back on a golf tour with the golfing group and around the Cape Town area and found the same thing. And I made a pledge in 98 that if I had the opportunity, I would do business in South Africa and get involved. And I followed up with that, fortunately, and I've done business since that time in growing amounts. And I've had an amazing time doing it, I must say.
And really, through that process, have built up quite a formidable property portfolio as well. Waheed, just to bring you in here, talk to me about the importance now of, at this juncture, as we're looking to rebuild from COVID, as there is a new administration in place and has been for the last 3 years, looking to kickstart growth, recalibrate the country's kind of ethical foundations. How important is it to build these sort of cross-border ecosystems between Dublin and Cape Town?
Hi, good evening. Michael, I think what's very key, and I think you hit on that note, is that we're now having the current administration setting the platform for a, let's call it, good business environment that will now attract investment to the country. So having done that, I think it's important that we as a business, and particularly the entrepreneurial environment, take on what I think we are very responsible for, and that is to help grow the economy. I think you've said it many a time on your shows that, you know, the entrepreneurial environment is really the dependency right now on our country's economy. So we've got to drive it. And by connecting our entrepreneurs and businesses in South Africa with opportunities that lie abroad, does help stimulate that economic growth that is so required in our country. So having this alliance with BICT has been an initiative that, in my view, will certainly encourage trade between our countries, some in the sense of perhaps just looking for investment, and where you have Irish investors wanting to invest in the country, as Frank has so done. Others could be where we're looking for additional products and services coming out of Ireland that we could grab opportunities selling it locally. And of course, the other is to export investment opportunities or products and services from our own members looking abroad. So having done that and started this initiative, we can certainly see the excitement between the organization members and the opportunities that do exist that sometimes just need connection and stimulation. And I hope that's what we're achieving right now.
And Frank, to bring you in, if you look at it through your lens, what makes South Africa and Cape Town more specifically an ideal location for Irish investment?
Well, in some ways, it's an opportunity to mirror the journey that Ireland has had. Ireland, 40 years ago, was the poorest country in Europe, and today stands with the highest gross domestic product per capita, not only in Europe, but in the world, gross national product per capita. So Ireland has gone through 40 years of absolute incredible transformation. South Africa sits in a position that it has to undergo huge economic transformation. And I think the potential for partnership between Ireland and South Africa is enormous. South Africa can mirror what Ireland has done. It has to look at what Ireland has done. And there are many, many, great linkages. The language is the same. South Africa is the opening of Africa. Ireland is the entry into Europe. And Irish people have a very strong linkages all over the world with the Irish diaspora and have a strong track record in Europe and the US and, in fact, other countries around the world. That South African business people can piggyback on and work with the Irish in using the pathways that the Irish have created in the last, I suppose, 20 years in particular.
Lots to learn, in particular, I think, in the tech area as well, where Ireland has really grown in leaps and bounds. And we look at what's happening in Cape Town. Waheed, just to bring you in on this point, in the Silicon Cape, now employing over 40,000 people, just under 500 startups. It's a thriving, very vibrant ecosystem. Where do you see the potential, Waheed?
One of the, let's call it the successes of Ireland and countries like Sweden as well, having a smaller population size, generally have to look outside their country for new markets. South African businesses have, and I'm not saying everyone, but largely, particularly our SME environment, has been very insular. We kind of look to serving the South African market. But right now, the world is looking at us as an opportunity, investments flowing into the country, and it's hopefully through initiatives like ours that we start helping our environment of entrepreneurs seek opportunities outside our borders and not just, insular, not just inside the country. So, yes, I think the opportunities are immense. But it does take a bit of a change of mindset to many.
And then there's Brexit as well, that, as we know, is very complex, Frank. But does that mean that there are opportunities that are now looked at bilaterally with the likes of South Africa as a result of the impact that Brexit has had on trade and investment between yourselves and the rest of the UK?
Yeah, we've seen that Ireland still has very strong links with the UK and business, and as has South Africa, major trading partner. So that's an important thing that we have in common also, that we both have. The UK market is hugely important to us. But more importantly for South Africa, Ireland is an easy pathway into Europe for South African business. It is there sitting, waiting. The South African business who want to expand into Europe and into America need to do linkages and look at what's happening in Ireland and follow the pathways. And ideally for Ireland, Irish business people are running short on people. There's full employment in Ireland. There's 250,000 SMMEs in Ireland. There's massive amounts of capital and huge amounts of innovation. But rapidly it's becoming expensive. Homes are expensive. The cost of living is huge. And Ireland needs an answer, which is to find business process outsourcing and remote working. And with the age of technology, just where we are right now, South Africa is a perfect location for Irish businesses to locate abroad.
Absolutely. With the strength of the rand, our geographic location. Frank, Waheed, wait right there. We just have to cross to Anne Williams, who's standing by with the news. And when we return, I'd just like to get an update on that lead and need session that you held yesterday. Welcome back to the show. I've got Waheed Adam, the CEO of Prime Group of Companies and also the president of EO Cape Town, and Frank Gormley from the Business Island, South Africa networking group. Now, chaps, you had a needs and leads session yesterday. I mean, that's really what SMEs need. They need the ability to network, to be able to form these new relationships. Waheed, what were the outcomes of yesterday's session?
I think what's wonderful in this COVID environment, we find an opportunity to do things virtually. And this has just presented us a way of connecting people across borders very quickly that otherwise would have been a trade delegation of some sort and long months of planning. What essentially it's doing is bringing businesses together and putting them face to face, where I present my business in a very short, what we call elevator pitch environment. So you have a few minutes to introduce your business, what you do, what you can offer, and what in return you would need. And that goes around in small breakout rooms, which allows people then to kind of note what and who they want to talk to on a more sort of detailed environment, and then make connections after the actual event, where they can now collaborate further and discuss business opportunities. So it's a very quick and efficient way of putting people together and where they can actually collaborate, find opportunities with who they'd like to talk to, and then go out from there doing whatever they need to do to conduct business further.
I've certainly found that one of the big pluses of the pandemic is the way it's brought forward the use of things like video conferencing technology. We're very comfortable now using Teams and Zoom and all of these things that allow us to be far more productive with our meeting time than we've ever been able to be in the past. And I think that's something that's certainly going to stick with us when things sort of return to normal in air inverted commas. Frank, for you, where to from here?
Well, our objective is to open pathways, put people in touch with each other. Both Ireland and South Africa have very good government business networks, the likes of Westro, the likes of Enterprise Ireland, Industrial Development Authority in Ireland. But while those bodies are amazing and very good and give guidelines, they don't actually introduce business to business people. And what Waheed and I and our organisations are trying to do is get a strong network of South African and Irish business people in touch with each other, directly in contact, looking at the opportunity, talking to each other. And as soon as things open up a bit again, we'll organise trade missions. The Pro 14, we talked about sport at the beginning. Pro 16 is ready to start as soon as the travel channels open.
Yep.
And we have the 4 provinces of Ireland will be coming down to visit each of the main cities in South Africa. And I would like to see a trade mission coming out with every single one of those groups coming down and introducing business-to-business opportunities. But we're laying the groundwork for that. Let's get people connected. Let's get large numbers, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. We started the process. We're going to push it on, bring more people together, and then eventually bring the people together and bring the investment and the business together.
That is the bottom line. And it is easier to do business with people that you share these cultural affinities with, be it on the sports field or elsewhere, that our two great countries have our histories intertwined. Frank Gormley, Chairman of Business Island South Africa and well-known Cape Town property entrepreneur, joined by Waheed Adam, the Cape Town president of the Entrepreneurs Organisation, talking about how we bring Ireland and South African SMEs together.